Hello, my friend, and welcome to TFU News and Views. I am your host, Anthony Brucali, owner-operator, madman behind TFU.INFO, the website, the toy archive, this podcast, Transformers University podcast, and so much more. And I want to welcome you to this special New York Comic Con preview. For those of you who are not familiar, I love covering New York Comic Con, and this year I am covering it once again, and I will actually have some help this year, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But Hasbro dropped a ton of news on us yesterday, so I want to talk about that as we preview what's to come and talk a little bit about what I believe we're going to see. It's funny because of the news that dropped yesterday, some of the things I had planned for this episode have been revealed. And that's great. If you were tuned into the last TFU News and Views, I had a bit of rampant speculation that the next phase of the War for Cybertron trilogy would be something themed around beasts. And I haven't been proven wrong just yet. And I will explain that as well. But before we get into that, we have to talk about the big thing involved with New York Comic Con and Hasbro, and I mean big literally, and that is Unicron. So if you've been following the Unicron story, if you've been following how this is shaking out, and now as we're approaching the second deadline, the extended deadline, which will come this Sunday at New York Comic Con, we're closing in on the 8,000 backers. I mean, this really looks like it might happen. I'm really hoping this might happen. As of right now, I'm looking right now, as I'm recording, at the Hasbro Pulse website, and this figure has taken a huge leap over the last 24 hours. They must have included some sort of international orders or retailer orders, because with 4 days, 13 hours, and 56 minutes left, Unicron is at 6,916 backers. And I am one of those. So I want to see this happen. I am excited that this is a lot closer than it was at this time last week, or even this time 48 hours ago. So with this impending figure crowdfunding, I guess is really the right word, with this impending crowdfunding on its way and hopefully racing to the goal, it's worth noting some of the new enticements, I guess you could call them, for Hasbro to have made and announced yesterday. So one of the things they announced, these Unicron enhancements, as the press release calls them, is first that his hands have 15 points of articulation each. So there are 3 joints per finger on Unicron, which will give him incredible posability with his hands and with what you can do with his hands. If you're like me, like I've done with just about every large figure, starting with the Armada Unicron from 2004, I usually just put their arm straight up and turn the wrist out and make him give the metal horns. That's because I'm weird like that. Also included with Unicron as of September 26th, 2019, in addition to the Galvatron slug figure, there will be a Hot Rod slug figure that will come with Unicron. So that's neat. It's not posable. It's just a basically just a plastic hot rod. It's just a hot rod shaped piece of plastic. But that's pretty cool. And now here's some of the more, I don't want to call it esoteric. It's certainly it's certainly weird but collector friendly. The part, I'm going to just read you the press release. And when fans play out the part where the bringer of chaos's head flies off into space, Now it can appear to float. Unicron will come with a clear, premium, posable headstand to display his dismembered head in all its glory. The headstand will also feature posts to pose the included minifigures, and also included in here, in addition to the minifigures, I kind of skipped over this, is a replica Autobot shuttle inspired by the Autobot shuttle in the movie. A little bit of actually fact checking here. The Autobot shuttle never makes it to Unicron. The Autobots attack Unicron in a Quintesson ship and a Junkion ship. But we got 4 days left. Who knows? Maybe there's another ship involved with this. Additionally, if they get to 8,000 backers, there is going to be a series of free digital comics released to the backers. And those comics will come from IDW Publishing. And they're previously available comics, but ones that aren't available digitally. So in there will be a new cover by one of my favorite artists, Andrew Griffith. And that cover is really neat because it is Andrew Griffith's take with Unicron and Hot Rod and Spike and Daniel, and it's done in the style of Marvel Comics Transformers #1. It is really cool looking. And yeah, Galvatron's in it as well. I'm looking forward to that cover. It'll also feature the currently unavailable digitally Transformers, the animated movie, 4-issue limited series by Bob Budiansky and Don Figueroa and Josh Bertram. That is the one that adapted the film again in comic form, not like the Marvel one that we covered on Transformers University a few episodes back. And it will contain the first issue of the current ongoing Transformers series by Brian Ruckley, Angel Hernandez, Keshe Whitman, and Joanna LaFuente. So there you go. And there's going to be basically a code for Comixology to get those comics if you are a backer, and this hits 8,000 backers. So that's the Unicron enhancements and announcements pre-New York Comic Con. Now remember, and I'm going to say this a lot during this episode, tomorrow, Thursday, October 3rd. Check that. I have to check that against the calendar. Yes. Thursday, October 3rd. I am going to be at New York Comic Con. I'm going to be at the Hasbro events at New York Comic Con. What are those? Well, at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, there will be, people are calling it the Hasbro panel. It's not a Hasbro panel, and it's not a Transformers panel per se. It's not like they have a room and they have control over the whole situation. It is more of a live talk show interview, usually with Ben Montano and John Warden. Those happen at the Sci-Fi stage in the back of the main dealer room of the Jacob Javits Center. So they are doing that at 11 o'clock tomorrow on the Sci-Fi stage. Siffy, if you read it like I read it. And that will be streamed out live somewhere on Sci-Fi Channel's website, syfy.com. That happens at 11 a.m. Eastern. I will be there. I'll be there taking photos and tweeting out what I can. Usually they reveal the next Titan there. Scorponok? Anyone? Maybe? We'll get into that. Now, from there, we will then head over to the east side of Manhattan to have a conversation, interview, the usual kind of fan site session with the gang from Hasbro and from the Transformers team. This is usually where they get a hotel room. They show off some new stuff. We'll probably see some stuff we didn't see or hear about in that 11 o'clock hour. Usually in that 11 o'clock hour, though, the Screen Rant article dropped already, right? Sometimes maybe there's an IO9 article or USA Today article somewhere. I imagine another Transformers-related article to drop within that 11 to 12 a.m. hour. And that's part of this New York Comic Con preview. Also happening at New York Comic Con is the initial release of Power Dasher Chromar and War for Cybertron Siege Generation Selects Hotshot. So those will be available. I'm going to try my best to pick those up so I can get some photos out and show them off a little bit, right? So those should be out as well. They are not New York Comic Con exclusives to my knowledge. Nothing I've read has said they are exclusive to New York Comic Con, just that they're being released at New York Comic Con at the Entertainment Earth booth. Chances are they'll be on Hasbro Pulse by the end of the night. For the folks overseas in Europe or Australia, I don't know what to tell you, but probably wherever you guys get those, Kapow Toys or one of those distributors, is probably where they are going to end up eventually. Now, let's talk about what else is coming next. And it comes with the reveal, the next phase of the War for Cybertron trilogy, and that is War for Cybertron Earthrise. And we've gotten a few figures revealed with images and names and some information. And I need to talk about a lot of these because they are pretty neat, and we are just going to go in size order. And starts with the Micromasters. We're continuing Micromasters into Earthrise, and with WFC E3, the Hot Rod Patrol 2-pack, and that means E3 is the number. That probably means there's a 1 and a 2 at that size class. So we should probably see 3 sets of Micromasters in this first wave. Maybe we'll see some of them at New York Comic Con. Oh, and before I forget, if you want to follow me at New York Comic Con, 2 best ways to do it. And I'm telling you best ways because they will be going out live as best I can do it from New York Comic Con. And then one is at Twitter, twitter.com/TFU_info, or if you're on Twitter already, at TFU_info. I will be tweeting out live. Actually, I will have a second set of hands. For those of you familiar with the Steel City Bots podcast, Miguel from that show will be joining me and helping out, and he will probably be running the Twitter. Why? Because I will be running the YouTube live stream. So if you want to watch this live on YouTube, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So that is in the afternoon. It's a little bit after the big Hasbro interview with Sci-Fi Network. And I will be live on YouTube, youtube.com/TFU.INFO. That's once again, youtube.com/TFU.INFO. I will be streaming out as live as I can. And so you can see and hear everything that is going on in that room when we hang out with the Transformers team. Now, back to the Micromasters. Enough of that commercial break, right? So the first 2 we are seeing are the Hot Rod Patrol, and it's 2 members of the Hot Rod Patrol with Trip Up and Daddy O, a.k.a. Big Daddy. Now, the Big Daddy reveal, the Daddy O reveal, is now that I've seen the official name, there's a couple of things here. One, Big Daddy has kind of been a running joke since the early 2000s with me and my friends, and we've kind of made this happen in a lot of ways. Not necessarily this figure, but bringing Big Daddy back into the Transformers line. It was one of those things we kept asking for at BotCon as a gag, and eventually it happened. And since it's happened multiple times, and this is just the latest iteration of that. When I get to that BotCon at in Transformers University, we're going to have to kind of break down that story, because it was kind of just someone made a passing comment. It might have even been Aaron Archer who made the passing comment, and we latched onto it pretty hard, and we pulled it off, and it happened. But his name being Daddy O means he might not actually be Big Daddy, or we have some possible weird character cross-pollination here. Because seeing that letter O at the end, hyphenated, Daddy-O, makes me think of O, Buster's friend from the comics. And we've never gotten a figure of O. And we also got to meet his dad for 3 or 4 panels in issue where he put on the Spider-Man mask. It's issue 3 of the Transformers comic from Marvel from 1984. This could theoretically be a figure of O's dad. If you want to really do the mental gymnastics I just laid out there for you. So this is still great. Hot Rod Patrol. I think this is the best. It's one of the best MicroMaster Patrols from the original run, and it's great to see them trying to redo this. And I guess if they're doing 2-packs again, we could probably expect some sort of Target 4-pack, 10-pack at the end of the year again, or I guess in the summer, to balance out the remaining characters that we're missing. So, building off the weaponizer feature from Siege, the first deluxe we have revealed is War for Cybertron Earthrise Deluxe WFC E8 Ironworks. And for those of you familiar with G1, Ironworks was a MicroMaster base, and they are referring to this as a modular battle station. And Ironworks can disassemble, turn into his battle station, turn into his robot mode, and can also be used to be modified and armor up other figures. This is a great feature that really exploits 5mm ports and posts, and I'm glad to see it carry over into the second phase of War for Cybertron. Using the MicroMaster bases as the next phase of this is a brilliant idea, and I can't wait to see what they do with this. Also worth noting, one of the images that's been going around of the base mode is very much like the original toy, but it also really looks like a leg to me, to my eye, and I'm wondering if these bases ultimately combine into some sort of huge Titan-sized or even maybe combiner-sized figure. It'd be neat to see. Let's keep an eye out for that down the line. The other interesting note in this feature is part of every size class from Deluxe on up, and I'm going to read you it right off the press release. This ecosystem collectible figure allows fans to build out epic space battle scenes and connect figures together to expand and customize the battlefield. Every pack includes a piece of the Transformers universe map and a red decoder to unlock the map's hidden paths. Collect other Earthrise figures to piece together the full map. I love this map idea, and I love that they're using a red decoder, much like the original G1 tech specs. It's a brilliant idea. It's a neat little piece of nostalgia, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that entails exactly. Also in the press release is a little bit of story linking Earthrise and Siege. It's not a lot, but it kind of tells you where the story is, and that is... let's read this. The siege is over, but the war for Cybertron has just begun. The Autobots and Decepticons have left Cybertron, but their battle rages on as they speed through space in pursuit of the Allspark. All right, so we don't have a lot there. It's not fully a G1 story if they're pursuing the Allspark, but it's a kind of a combination of previous versions. So that should be fairly interesting. Now, on to Voyager class. We have... Generations, War for Cybertron, Earthrise, Voyager WFC E10, Autobot Grapple. Grapple stands at 7 inches in robot mode, converts to classic crane truck mode in 16 steps, and comes with 3 weapon accessories. And this looks pretty cool, I gotta say. And if we get Grapple, it means we're getting Inferno. And overall, this toy just looks really nice, and I'm excited to see that. But I've also noticed we're only seeing Autobots right now. Sound familiar? Because that's what they did when they announced Siege. They only introduced the Autobots, and then they introduced the Decepticons at New York Comic Con. I think we're going to see more of this line in this series at New York Comic Con than we did split between those two. I think we're going to see a lot more Decepticons day of. And it's not really a lot to say about Grapple, but like I said, it's a nice touch, and it also gives them a chance to do a Road Hauler as a selects figure at some point. And if they do Inferno, they can probably do Artfire as a selects figure. I mean, there's a lot of ways they can go with this. Finally, we also meet War for Cybertron Earthrise leader, WFCE 11, Optimus Prime. This is an Optimus that comes with his Ion Blaster, his Matrix of Leadership, and his trailer that does convert into a battle station. This is really neat. It looks a lot like the Voyager class version we got in Siege. I'm wondering if it's a retool. It really does look like a retool, but we shall find out more at New York Comic Con. So I expect to see all of these figures at New York Comic Con this week, starting tomorrow. Actually, I expect to see all these figures tomorrow, Thursday, October 3rd. Once again, 11 a.m. is the Hasbro interview with Sci-Fi. 2 p.m. is our live coverage from Hasbro's presentation to the fan media, if you will. And that's 2 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget, it's on Twitter, twitter.com/TFU_info, and on YouTube, youtube.com/TFU.INFO. I will be broadcasting live from that event. And so that's pretty much all I've got as far as a little bit of news coverage and a little bit of preview for New York Comic Con. I guess the other thing to mention is that Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, is the IDW 20 Years and Beyond panel. That panel will feature John Barber, along with a whole bunch of other folks from IDW. They'll be talking about Transformers, along with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Lock and Key, Sonic the Hedgehog, and much more. But I will certainly be at that panel as well. I do not know if I'll be live streaming that one on YouTube, but I will certainly be tweeting at that panel once more. So, once again, the Twitter, at TFU_info, or twitter.com/TFU_info. YouTube, youtube.com/TFU.INFO, youtube.com/TFU.info. These are the two links you need for tomorrow, Thursday, October 3rd, and for Friday, October 4th. Additionally, October 7th, Monday, midnight Eastern. Keep an eye on the YouTube and the Twitter channels. I can't tell you more than that. But I will have things scheduled to drop at midnight, and you will want to see these. Let's just say it's related to a lot of the things we've talked about today. And hopefully, at that point, Unicron will be funded. We've got a little more than 1,000 backers to go. So if you haven't backed Unicron and you're on the fence about it, do it. If you have the money, I know it's a big ask. And I'm not saying if you don't have the money, don't go into debt. But if you think you can swing it and you want to do it, you should do it. Once again, just going to give you the times for Thursday, October 3rd, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. That's Eastern Time. It's New York time, 11 a.m. The Sci-Fi panel. Now, you're just going to need the Twitter account. And that is twitter.com/TFU_info. That thing will be streamed out live on Sci-Fi's website, syfy.com. I'm sure you can find links there. I'm not too familiar with the site, but Google is your friend. And then that afternoon, 2 p.m. Eastern, 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern, the Hasbro presentation to the fan media, and that is going to happen on Twitter, twitter.com/TFU_info, and youtube.com/TFU.INFO. If you're not following those, if you're not subscribed to those, do it now, so you're ahead of the game. Set an alert for whenever I tweet, whenever I pop up a video. Hit the ring the bell, as the kids say. And be sure to join us for our live New York Comic Con coverage. Now, I want to talk about two other things. One is, they're both not Transformers related, but I got to get them off my chest. They're in my head. One is a quick promotion. I appeared just the other day on Mike Seibert Radio podcast. You should check out Mike Seibert Radio podcast. We did a wrap of this season of Big Brother. If you're a reality game show fan like I never was until I met my wife, you should check it out. We had a great conversation. We talked a lot longer than I ever thought we would about this season, and it was a good podcast, great podcast overall. And we had talked a little bit of Transformers too. So if you check it out towards the end, we do delve into a little bit of New York Comic Con preview. That's the first thing. The second thing is something that just popped into my head yesterday while I was grocery shopping. So near my job, there is a grocery chain store. Maybe you've heard of them. They're called Wegmans. Wegmans is basically, if you haven't been to one, they're the size of a large Walmart, and it is a supermarket. It is ginormous. And I had a realization walking in, and this is the grammar nerd in me. The name of the store is Wegmans, Wegmans. There's no apostrophe. So, the apostrophe would denote possessive, so it's not the store belonging to Mr. Wegman. It is Wegmans with an S, therefore plural. The problem is that Wegmans, plural, the plural of Wegman would be Wegmen, Wegmen versus MAN. So the S on the end is a grammatical paradox. It should not be there to make it plural, nor should it be there to make it possessive. And I've been trying to wrap my head around this for the last 24 hours, and I cannot seem to resolve it. So if you have any thoughts on why that S is there at the end of Wegmans, other than that's just how they spell it, please drop me a line at TFU_info. Hopefully that has confounded you as much as it has me the last 24 hours. So in another 24 hours, we will be just about headed over to New York Comic Con. 24 hours from me recording this at the very least. So I'm going to hit you with all the important numbers once again. 11 a.m. Thursday, that's tomorrow. Hasbro interview on the sci-fi stage at New York Comic Con. Streamed out on sci-fi.com. Tweeted live by me on the Twitter at TFU_info. 2 p.m. Eastern. Hasbro hangs out with the fan media sites. Tweeted live on Twitter at TFU_info. Big shout out to Miguel from Steel City Bots. He will be helping me out on that. Make sure you check out that podcast because I'm sure he'll talk about his impressions on the show after New York Comic Con. Also, I will be controlling the YouTube feed, youtube.com/TFU.INFO, for live coverage from the room with Hasbro, assuming they let us, of course, but they've never stopped us in the past, so I don't see that being a problem. youtube.com/TFU.INFO for live coverage, 2 p.m. Thursday, tomorrow, Eastern Time. And then finally, midnight, October 7th. That's Monday morning, after New York Comic Con is done, after Unicron has been funded, hopefully. We got some big video and images to share. So check out, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the Twitter, because those will be posted and ready to go. So that will wrap things up for this episode of TFU News and Views. I am your host, Anthony Brucali. Can't wait to share more with you live tomorrow from New York Comic Con. Please like and subscribe to this show. Rate us on Apple, iTunes. Everything you do can help. And of course, check out Transformers University. I'm on a little bit of a hiatus from the show the last couple of weeks just because I was sick. And then New York Comic Con is kind of all-encompassing for a week. But we will be getting after it with new episodes. Episode 75 will be coming real soon. So you got some time to catch up if you haven't caught up. And that's over anywhere you're listening to this show. If you're probably listening to this show, you probably have it on your podcast feed. But if you don't, Transformers University, what are you waiting for? Check it out. Once again, I am your host, Anthony Brucali. I'm wrapping up. I know I'm rambling. Till next time. And that's tomorrow. See ya.